Welcome to Unpacked Radio. I am your host, Norris the Pope Johnson, and tonight I am Bane, the bane of human existence. And we will be talking about black superheroes, black cosplay, and black villains. This should be an awesome show. This is my favorite topic. If you're not a nerd, sorry, not sorry, but we're going to get into it. We'll be back in 1 minute on Unpack Radio with Black Cosplay with my man from Hellspawn's Cosplay, Mr. Hope. So we'll be back in 1 minute. And I am Bane. See you in 1 minute. Welcome back. We are just trying to work out this crazy Zoom. And welcome to the future of talking to people from far away, and you got to send links and jump around and hope for hope and all that other good stuff. But I'm going to start it off by talking about how I fell in love with comics. I fell in love with comics maybe approximately 20 years ago. I had my first comic in my hand when I was sitting at the non-cool kid table. And all the comic book characters when I was growing up did not look like me. Every Halloween I had to wear that whack-ass Casper the Ghost or Hercules or someone else who did not look like me. I had no characters at that time frame who looked like what I look like. We had no heroes when I was growing up. We didn't get our first hero until maybe 1990, and that was Green Lantern. And he popped in every once in a while with the Justice League, and he'll pop out, but we really had no heroes. So I think now it's very important for the young people in the community to have heroes, to have somebody who represent them in a correct manner. So that's what we're going to talk about once we get our guests on who specialize in cosplay, going in the community, dressing up as different characters, and making us nerds look awesome. So hopefully we can get this thing running. It looks like we still playing around with the Zoom. So we're going to take another short little break and we're going to figure around with the Zoom and work it out. We'll see you in 1 minute.
All right,
All right. First and foremost, how did you get into comics?
man. It's kind of hard to understand you with your Bane mask on.
All right, well, let's rip this off. Because it was getting hot anyway. But how did you get into comics?
How'd I get into comics?
Yeah, how did you get into comics? Let's start off there. What was your first comic book?
Oh, I don't know. My parents my parents own a lot of property down in Florida, and so there are a lot of opportunities to learn how to read when I was like 3 and 4 years old, because my parents would drive to Florida all the time. So we would stop at like thrift stores and all that, and that's when my mom would start picking out comics because they were things that I would actually pay attention to. And so she pointed out different words that I would need to learn how to read. And the first comics I believe I had were like, there were Marvel What If that were like maybe 45 cents to $1. Yeah, so they were like what if stories. So, nothing really too specific. I was all over the place, but they were between Marvel and DC, and just knowing that the heroes existed when I was like 3 and 4 years old.
Now, I know we had a brief conversation while I was on the phone, but how does it feel that when we was probably growing up in the early 80s, late 90s, we didn't really have too many heroes to look up to, but Caucasian heroes. And for myself, that's why I always lean towards the villain. But how did you feel coming up not having too many people to represent you?
Well, that's the thing. My parents are from the South, and so therefore they identify with their blackness as much as anybody could. So I was always exposed to Black Lightning or Black Vulcan. It's kind of suck. It does suck that all the black characters back in the day did have black in front of the names, but yeah, between Black Vulcan, Black Lightning, and shoot, I'm drawing a blank now. But even like Forge from X-Men, from the X-Force comics or whatever. I knew that they existed, but I didn't really take it into account that I needed to have them reflect my visage, the way that I look, until Actually, my mom, again, she's like the backbone of a whole lot of my collecting and all that stuff. Um, my mom brought home a 4 pack of comics, and it was the launch editions of Milestone Media, which included Static and Icon and Hardware and Blood Syndicate. And when she brought those home, that was the first time she was like, "Look, you have to pay attention to these because these are made by black folks and they're all about black folks, and this is important." And I didn't know why it was important, but apparently it was truly important, and it stuck with me.
Yeah, one person they never really talk about too often is Icon. I don't know why they don't like to put Icon out there, and then when everybody complain about having a version of a Superman, I'm like, you got him right there in Icon. So can you give people a little brief history onto Icon and how long he been around, what are his powers, and what does he represent for the community?
Well, are you asking me if that's what those questions?
Yeah, because not too many people know about Icon. We might be talking to old people's head.
So the reason why a lot of people don't really do y'all cuss on this thing?
You can do whatever you want to do. I try to restrain myself, but yes, you can. It's unnecessary to that word.
I'll keep it PG. But yeah, people don't really mess with Icon too much simply because he's a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense for a lot of people because when he crash landed on Earth, it was during slavery.
Very true.
The first person who saw him, his whole thing was that he took on the identity or the type of identity of whomever found him first. So it happened to be a black slave, and he morphed into a slave child, into a black child, and he grew up in that era, and the question is why or how is he a conservative, knowing and seeing how they've changed over time. And that's the interesting thing about him, is that he's got a sidekick named Rocket that challenges him on that very fact a lot of the time. Like, she is the voice of the rest of the black folks who are reading his comics and asking him how can he still be a conservative knowing what they stand for today. And he just happens to be a traditionalist. And that does not take away from the fact that he still believes that people need to do for themselves, or that he can help whomever is in need of help. But, he doesn't allow all of that politics and all that stuff to get in the way of what his duty is as a superhero. But as far as his powers and all this, he really is the black version of Superman, whereas Superman is mainly a physical threat, except for his heat vision and cold breath and whatever. But Superman has only started emitting a certain type of solar flare. Since he's a solar capacitor, he can store up a whole lot of solar energy, and then he can expel that at will, but it drains him, and he's like a normal person for a certain amount of time. That's the most recent change that they've done to Superman that makes him somewhat of an interesting character. But as far as Icon is concerned, not only is he really intelligent, but his powers extend beyond just physical strength. But he can manipulate ions and shoot energy blasts, and basically break things down on an atomic scale in a way that Superman can't. So on a whole lot of different levels, he's way more interesting, he's way more powerful, and that was even shoot. I wish if I knew. I got right here. In this comic book right here, let's see if you can see it. There it is.
There you go.
Icon versus Superman. They had to make a point for a specific reason. Within, you had to get the story. I'm not going to tell you all about it. But Superman did get punched by Icon, and Superman was like, "Man, that hurt." So yeah, There you go. That's a better shot of it. It's something to have, man. Like this is all milestone media. Made for black folks, made by black folks, but not paid attention by black folks.
Yeah, that's truly, truly sad. Like when I remember when the Black Panther first came out, and all the black people were so excited. We got our first black superhero on the mainstream, but I was like, wait a minute, what about Wesley when he was doing not only one, not only two, but three versions of my man Blade? And I was like, and he was the baddest thing I think we had rolling. So what do you feel about, what I mean, people now just jumping on the train of superheroes and forgetting about all the people we had in the past?
See, and that's another thing. You mentioned Blade. Blade came out in '98, whereas
Mm-hmm.
Spawn came out in '97.
Yeah, well, not too many
And
people talk about him.
right, I know. I mean, like, see, I have no illusions that the Spawn movie is terrible, but I'm a big fan. I mean, from what you see here, this is just all DC stuff. If I was to turn this camera around, you would see a litany of other fandoms that I am, but Spawn is the main one. So I'm not going to say that Spawn is like that movie was more important than it was, but he was still one of the first few black superheroes that made it to the mainstream, but folks didn't pay attention to him, nor did the story that he got do him justice until he got to the HBO animated series. That was
awesome.
sexy. Yeah, that was sexy. But as far as folks going back to Black Panther and using that as the first black superhero that they can be proud of, I see both sides of it. Okay, on one end, Blade is a vampire daywalker. To some, he murders people because they don't understand what he is and what his mission is.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, I mean, so therefore, like, you can't really say that he's a quote unquote hero. We know that he's a hero because of what he's dealing with, but you can't put him out in front like you can like T'Challa and say, yeah, like that's someone that we can be proud of, because Blade kind of fringes on that hero or that black visage that we can't be proud of. We can't be proud of anything we saw in New Jack City. We truly can't be proud of Blank Man. Sure, Robert Townsend did his thing with Meteor Man, but that was a one and done story. It was a comedy, to a degree.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was early '90s. Like, we really don't have black superheroes that can be looked upon on a one sheet and be like, damn, like that's me right there as a child. Mm-hmm. Not like until we had T'Challa and the whole Black Panther crew. So I can see where people are going directly to Black Panther and feeling like that's something that they can like stand out and proud with, because he's a king, an African king, and one that didn't take no stuff. He didn't. I mean, yeah, he got his ass kicked, but not in Civil War. Civil War, he was a man. So yeah, I see both sides, but you just kind of have to like roll with the punches. There's a lot of people who don't understand this world because they don't read comics, but then you're not allowed to shut them out because you can't be a gatekeeper. Because the more people that come in, that's more money that the properties make, and therefore they make more stuff for us to be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Now, real briefly, how did Chadwick death affect you? Because I think that was a heavy blow for the community, especially for the black cosplay community and comic book community. Because now we're at a loophole right now. They don't know which direction they want to go in. So, how did that affect you personally, or?
Well, as far as personally, like Black Panther, the depiction of Black Panther from Chadwick actually, like, it helped inform my cosplay mission. Mm-hmm. My cosplay mission is the proliferation of minorities within mainstream media. Mm-hmm. His portrayal of T'Challa, there was nothing wrong with it. There was no, I mean, as someone who read the comics and someone who appreciated the character for what he was, Chadwick did his justice. And it's really sad and that we can't see more of that. But as far as me personally, the impact sucked. Like it was the same weekend my son turned 1. And so I had to like, think about like, damn, like this is what kind of put me in a position to do as much as I can for the cosplay community and for my son and for Black people as a whole, or people of color as a whole. But I have to put that to the side to make sure that I celebrate my son, and the fact that he's here. So Chadwick's passing forced a lot of people to rethink, their health. As things went sideways and we weren't prepared for it, just like it was for him, or for us learning about him, it started putting people on a path towards being better. Like I'm only 36 years old, but now I'm starting to think about my prostate. Now I'm starting to think about, things that I normally wouldn't have thought about until I was like at least in my mid 40s, because Chadwick was a relatively young guy.
Yes.
So, it really does check your mortality to know that someone who was so prolific so quickly is taken from us, and we don't really know that about our mortality until that happens, and it sucks.
Speaking of health, you have a very weird journey. I was speaking to you about this on the phone. You and me both kind of loosen the expectations of what a nerd supposed to look like, because you're also a bodybuilder. So where do you find the time to build up your body to the point that you can actually perform on stage? Because that's about 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, eating 7, 8 meals. So where do you find the time to fit in that health to kind of correct the narrative of what a nerd supposed to look like?
But see, that's the thing. Okay, to answer your first question, the regimen that I was on when I did He-Man and when I did Kratos and Piccolo, my gym, I had 2 gym memberships. One was a 24-hour gym, and the other one was a regular gym, like LA Fitness. So I would get up at like 3:30, do the hour cardio in the morning, and then maybe hit like 1 or 2 groups before 5 o'clock because I needed to be at work at 6. And eating 8 meals throughout the day isn't a problem, because there's the small meals are like almonds and small portions of like oatmeal, like maybe like a half a cup of oatmeal, and like you're just constantly eating so that you keep your metabolism going. That's the whole point, that your body always has to be hot. I was wearing hoodies through the summer, in order to keep sweating. I was on thermogenics, where they are like, they heat your body up from the inside. So and then when I got off work at like 2:30 in the afternoon, I would go home, change clothes, get another hour cardio in, and then lift for like 45 minutes for another type of group. So that was the mentality when I was training for it. Nowadays, I'm working 3 jobs now, 4 if you count cosplay. There are a lot of side jobs, a lot of part-time stuff, but I'm constantly like on the go. And ever since COVID hit, my access to the gym has been cut short. My mom has sarcoidosis, and my dad is 68. My mom's 66. So, and then I have a 1-year-old little boy. So I really can't expose myself to undue presences like being at the gym, because of COVID, and not feel like I'm responsible for their health as well as my own. So, the regimens now, if a bodybuilder was to look at me now, he'd be like, "Oh, you soft, you fleshy." Oh, you got the father figure, not the dad bod, but the father figure. And it's not. I'm trying my best to do what I can, but there's just not enough time. Like, I was late coming to the show today because I was getting off of work, trying to get here and trying to get something in my system so I didn't look like I was halfway dead on camera.
Hmm. Now, how did you get into the world of cosplay? Because I noticed you was in that world. I was like, my man is doing it. He got stickers. He got different outfits. He's signing autographs. He has his own little social media site. You are really getting big into that world, and I appreciate you doing it because we don't see too many people in the African American community in that space. So, how did you get in that space?
All right, so there's a lot of us,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to get into something else as far as like what a nerd should look like, as opposed to what I look like.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few height, weight, proportionate people within the cosplay community and in the nerd community, especially black nerds, whatever. And that's due to nobody's fault, but just the lifestyle that they've lived, how they've been comfortable with who they are, and all that stuff. Like that's fine, that's cool. But those of us who are the minority within the minority within the minority, bodybuilders, people who are in the gym all the time, we are definitely legion in numbers, as far as being geeks, as far as being, because the reason why we look the way that we do is because we grew up looking at Aquaman, looking at, Robin. Like these superheroes are our modern myths. So some of us had the mentality, actually a lot of us, there's a lot of geeks that are bodybuilders, or who are fans of superhero movies. And we just had the mentality to change our bodies to look that way, whereas the majority within this minority did not, and that was their own choice. What sucks about all that is that because we don't look like the majority, we are looked upon as less than.
Mm.
We are models in costume trying to get attention and take it away from those who are not conventionally attractive.
Mm.
And it sucks because you think that fandoms are supposed to bring people together and we all be under one umbrella, it's all love. But no, like there's a lot of people who are salty with me because I came out with a simple cosplay that's actually one that I've been wanting to do since I was 4 years old, which was He-Man, because I'm 36 years old. I was born in '84. He-Man, Voltron, Robotech, all of that was my era.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, I did something that was in my mind and something that they never even thought of because that's not what they were into. They're into Sailor Moon. They're into Pokemon. They're into Digimon. There's nothing wrong with that. Your fandom is your fandom. But because of my He-Man being as popular as it is, because there's a lot of people who are a lot more older than just them and a lot more prevalent than just them, my He-Man kind of went in a direction that I never thought it was going to go, because it was supposed to be a one-and-done thing, and it turned out to be something I had to do several times just due to the popularity of it.
Yeah, to the point you now have a sticker of yourself as He-Man, and I think that side by side you did with you or yourself and Terry Crews, you looked a lot better, especially you took that damn stupid ass blonde wig off.
Yeah, and it was all. This was lightning in the bottle. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to make any bones about it. It was pure luck and happenstance that Mattel and DC Comics and Netflix had all of this stuff that they were planning on doing these next couple of years already lined up when I came out with my He-Man thing, and I didn't know anything about that. So when I went to PowerCon last year and met Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin and Tim Seeley, who wrote the He-Man and the Masters of the Multiverse miniseries, like I had no clue that all that stuff was going to happen when I did the cosplay in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So, the fact that I struck lightning and I've been, I brought Icon out. The very next big cosplay I did was Icon, and people did pay attention to that. I got on DC Fandom, their virtual convention. because of that. Like I've been trying to bring as much awareness as possible to black issues and black characters based on my version of a white character. So it's not like I've sold out. It's not like I've, taken whatever fandom or whatever cause fame that I've gotten and did away with anybody who helped me get here, because that's not what happened. I've been doing the right thing, and doing the right thing just by doing people right has afforded me more opportunities than being that snake in the grass that these people who don't like me within the concert community continue to try to propagate that message because I don't fuck with them.
Good point. Now, for myself, I realized like when I went to the Halloween festival they have in South Carolina, and it felt great to have people take pictures of you and shake your hand. Little kids want to come up to you and take pictures with you. How does that make you feel? Because you're on the big dog level, actually going to these events. How does it feel when that little kid come up to you and get your autograph or want to take a picture with you? How does it feel?
Um, it, you know what? There was a story that I heard from another cosplayer who dressed as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
He said that when he met a small child, he was in the full Batman costume, but and his face was out, and so the little boy came up to him and said, "You look like me," and that cosplayer broke, like, it made him feel like he was missing something, to know that somebody out there was looking for somebody that looked like them. So for me, I try my best to not have any real feelings on display when I'm out there, because there's children and there's, like, who wants to take pictures with that blubbering fool right there? But it means something on a whole lot of levels that somebody, like a child, acknowledges that they want to look up to somebody that looks like them. So, anytime a child comes up to me and throws up the Wakanda salute, I could be a Sub-Zero, I could be in the Mandalorian, I could be in Icon. It doesn't matter. We're taking that picture and we're going to make sure that he or she gets the attention that they need at that particular moment in time. Because now that I have a little boy, my son was born right before like any real. There was a few conventions, but COVID has taken the entire year as far as conventions is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
So before he was even really a factor, it was always in my mind that if I did have a little boy, if I did have a little girl, whomever their hero is, I want them to never have someone say to them, never meet your heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Because your heroes will disappoint you, right? I don't want them to feel that way at all. So I've got a crayon drawing of myself and another cosplayer as He-Man and She-Ra, and we're, they're black, and it came from a little girl from Florida, that's on my refrigerator right now. And I look at that every day knowing that the representation that we put out there truly does matter. So as far as me feeling a certain way, there's always going to be a sense of pride. There's always going to be a sense of humility, and there's always going to be a sense of making sure that I do this to the T, because there's always someone watching who's either going to be A, inspired, B, impressed, or C, want to do that for someone else. If we're paying it forward, we can never go broke.
Good point.
You feel me?
Good point. I even noticed that you and your son was dressed up. You had him in his little LL Cool J outfit. How did that feel that now you got your son following in the footsteps, and one day he's going to be out here doing the same thing like you? Because I thought it was cute.
I truly am open to him doing whatever he wants to do. I have him in clothes and cosplay now. No illusions that he's going to continue to do it unless it truly interests him. But as of right now, that's my kid. He's with me. He gonna do whatever I tell him to do. But honestly, it feels good to have. I really can't really describe that feeling because I look at him whenever I get a chance to have him. I look at him and I still can't believe he's here. It's unreal to me because there's any number of people who can tell you that I had a fuckboy era. So, if I'm being honest with you, I didn't think that, after my divorce, I never thought that I would be in a position truly to be a father, because I just didn't think that was in the cards for me. And not at least in the way that I thought it was going to be. And seeing him here, whether he's in cosplay, whether he's in a diaper, I mean, I see his personality, I see his strength, and I'm in awe every single time I see him. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Do you got kids?
No. I'll live through you, though, good brother. I'll live through you. If you need a good uncle, good mentor, I'm there for you. I will come. I will give you a 2-hour break. After that, he back in your hands. That's it. You get 2 hours. Then I'll take the morning. You take the evenings, and after that, we'll keep it a move from there.
I mean, I feel you because I don't like anybody else's kids. I don't. I mean, notwithstanding the conventions, because conventions 5-10 minutes. You don't really get a chance to get to know somebody's kid or whatever, so that's not the same thing. But if it's one of my friends and they bring their rugrats over, I'm like, you don't beat them? That's how you gotta. I don't know. That's how I am.
And why Hellspawn cosplay? I put the name out there, and somebody's looking at me like, huh? So why Hellspawn cosplay?
Well, that's the thing. Again, I'm a fan of Spawn, and Spawn is a hell spawn. But I had to think of, there's a whole lot of names out there that have cosplay at the end of it, and it doesn't really mean anything except for something to them. Like that, I saw Dark Star cosplay. I was like, oh, that's a cool name, But what does it truly mean? So to answer your question. The way that I cosplay and the way that I want to depict characters or embody them, I like to say that I've got an insane amount of accuracy or an eye for accuracy, and that's not saying that cosplay has to be an accurate one-to-one reflection from the comics or from the movies, but there are things about these characters that people don't take into account that you can bring to life. For instance, my Sub-Zero doesn't look like anybody else's Sub-Zero, simply because I took what I've learned from his lore and incorporated it into my cosplay. So, in the it was in Deadly Alliance, in that game that came out on Nintendo 64. Sub-Zero acquired the Dragon Medallion. Mm-hmm. Okay, the Dragon Medallion was basically a power boost. So it changed his eyes from the color blue to the color white. Mm-hmm. So when I got his tabard, the tabard that I have for it, I made sure that I had the Dragon Medallion embroidered onto it, as well as the Lin Kuei. And then when I put in the context for it, my eyes are completely white. And my gauntlets and my greaves, they're made of leather. Mm-hmm. But then they also have a certain look to it that's kind of like a dragon scale. So in my mind, if he's got the upgraded power boost from the Dragon Medallion, then that means that there are some elements of a dragon that are displayed on his body. So with that being said, my cosplay looks different than other people's, and it also looks different from what you've seen in the games or in the movies or the cartoons, but it is quintessential Sub-Zero. And that type of mentality and attention to detail is something that a lot of people don't put into their cosplays. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but some people just want to put up a casual character or whatever, and that's completely fine. But if I'm playing a character that has a bald head, yes, like Kratos or Piccolo, I shaved my head. Now I won't do that because I'm not going to do those characters. And also, my son kind of identifies me by my hair, whether it be my facial hair or my hairstyle. I'm not touching that. So long as if he can identify me, I'm gonna keep it as that. So yeah.
Now, are you designing your own stuff, or are you buying it from somewhere? How are you getting your stuff? Because you do an amazing job, especially with that icon. I did not know how you put that one together. That was an amazing job, by the way.
Thank you. I buy and then I modify. Like, that is my cosplay. That's how I do things. And just to go back to your original question, Hell Spawned cosplay means that it came from hell, but it came damn near perfect. So, and that's what I see in my mind when I see the word Hell Spawned cosplay. But the whole idea behind Icon is that he's just wearing a red bodysuit with a massive green cape, for some people, to accentuate his blackness. So, I have friends who sew, who put together suits and all this other stuff, but, the only thing that they can do is just the base, because, again, they're doing exactly what you asked them to do, which is just sew something together that has, because I'm not a seamstress, and I don't do too well on, like, making sure the stitches are straight. That's just not my thing. It never has been my thing. So my friend Mike Baden, who's up in Philadelphia, or Pennsylvania, excuse me, I asked him, could he make me, because he made us, he's a part of, like, the 300 Spartans, which is a group of Spartans that go down to Dragon Con in Atlanta every year, and they are all bodybuilders. Every single last one of them are bodybuilders, and they have to have a certain type of BMI in order to march in the parade where they have these 300 Spartans, because if you remember the Spartans from 300, they looked a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So those guys were serious, and I would have been marching with them this year at Dragon Con and back in October, or this year, this month, if it wasn't for COVID, But yeah, so he put together the suit for me, and everything looked good, but it was flat because it looked like red pajamas, and like the gold bands were just pieces of fabric. The cape was magnificent. He put together like maybe 6 yards of green fabric, and it was a cape. That's exactly what I needed, because again, Icon's cape was ridiculously big.
Mm-hmm.
So you take things a step further with the whole eye for accuracy, So I have a friend who does airbrushing, and he airbrushed me as Kratos and as Piccolo. So the guy knows how my body is contoured, how it works. So I put on the suit for him one time, and he was able to, like, within 30 minutes, was able to accentuate the muscles that I already have. So the suit looked like it would hug my body more than it just did when it was just a flat red suit, And then my ex at that particular moment in time, she helped me put together a foam bands that made the suit pop as far as dimensions. Because if you look at any of the comic books, Icon is not just a 2D figure. Like, no suit is a 2D piece of equipment. It's alive. It has angles. it needs to have curves and sharp edges. So when I put those gold bands on, they were actually made of foam that were wrapped in gold fabric, and it gave me more of a pop on screen when someone took my picture. So this level of like attention to detail when it comes to just like bodysuits or wearing a cape, you know, a lot of people don't do that. They just put the suit on and like, well, I'm good to go. You know, like no, that's not. You have to take this as far as you possibly can, in order to look as close to the character as possible, or at least look like a character. You know, and I think it's kind of unfair for me to say that too sometimes, because I do have a 6'2", 230-pound stature, where a lot of people who do this sort of thing, you know, they may be under 6 feet, maybe 180 pounds. They don't fill things out the way that I would. So, you know, there's some might say I have an unfair advantage, but that's why I try to go as far as I can to make things as artistic as possible, so that I could get credit on, just like you said, just like how you acknowledge the fact that it looked different than just anybody else just putting on a suit.
All right, my last question. Are you using any type of sponsorships, or are you doing this out of your own personal money? How are you doing this?
Say it one more time.
Are you using any type of sponsorships, or are you doing this out of your own personal money? How are you doing this for the cosplay?
Well, this is all coming out of my pocket.
Oh, wow.
I did create an LLC based out of my cosplay as a consulting business, so that I could, like, I when I first got in, I was paid a few times in order to appear as either Sub-Zero or even as Deadpool in a few productions, in a few video productions. And I as far as like being able to write off some of this stuff, these expenses on the taxes, you got to have an LLC.
Yes, that's true.
and honestly, like I say this to anybody who will sit down and actually talk to me about it, but in order to make money the right way, you got to make money the white way. You know, I own my home. I have to have a business. If I had a business, that means there's a portion of my home I could write off, and you know, you do what you got to do, spend the money you got to spend. Don't cheat your taxes, but if you have those couple of elements in place, you can get back a very sizable tax return so that you can get yourself out of debt.
Unfortunately, I do have to start wrapping this up. So my final question is, where can people find you so they can be able to get into the world of cosplay? Because I'm coming next year once we clear up all this whoopee cough epidemic stuff. I'm coming with you, brother. So where can they find you at so we can get in the world of cosplay?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at healthbond_cosplay, and you can find my Facebook page is the same name. But it's really difficult for me to keep track of who sends me messages or who actually comments on stuff there, because it's not as intuitive as regular Facebook. So I had to like make the extra step to go look. So it might take me some time to see you, but I'll see you. And yeah, those are the two main things. I've got there are hoodies and T-shirts with different He-Man illustrations that artists came up with. Under Juazo Graphics. If you look up Juauso Graphics on Instagram, you should be able to find their site. There's a couple of things that are happening. They're coming down the pipe. Like I don't know. I guess I can say it. Whereas I'm going to be doing a panel for Afropunk next week.
Okay.
Which the following week it goes out to their virtual, festival. So that's anywhere between 70,000 to 1,500,000 people that's going to be able to see it. It's basically using the platform that you have as a nerd to affect social change within your neighborhood, within your community, and within your world. And then I have an article that's being written on me now by Men's Health. So
that's going to be awesome. Unfortunately, we lost a good 5 minutes figuring around with Zoom. So next time we go out to do this again, bro. I normally would do a man load, but I don't even think I got time for that. So I'm just going to go directly into the quote. And the quote for the day is, without order, there's only chaos. Hail Hydra. See you guys next week where we be talking about domestic violence. I am your host, Norris the Pope Johnson. I told you I was all about the villains, baby. All about the villains. Don't be surprised. I will see you guys next week for domestic violence. I am your host, Norris the Pope Johnson. Thank you for tuning in to Unpacked Radio. Have a great day. Thank you for joining me, good brother. Salute.
No problem, man. Thank you, Pastor.